What is new, Speed Duel crew? This is your Speed Duel professor coming at you with another deck profile of our regional Minnesota state champion for Speed Duel. This is Noah Wise, and he's going to come at you with your fossil profile.
Yeah. So hi there, it's Noah. This is I'm a fossil player primarily, and I use this deck to win the February regionals back in 2026 there. The deck core has changed a little bit since then here, but a couple of the concepts have changed. Mostly it's the same. So either way, to at least start, we're going to be using the gym skill of Major in Paleontology. Since Fossil Fusion is not printed, this is our way to substitute for that. It does require a bit of investment once per turn, having to banish a card from hand face down in order to get the dig counter set up for it. If Fossil Fusion is destroyed by card effects, though, you can get the dig counter on it regardless there. But then you can spend that dig counter in order to perform a Fossil Fusion, banishing monsters from either graveyard to meet the criteria to perform a Fusion Summon. Very useful in a lot of matchups, especially to get problematic pieces out of the graveyards there. If the opponent isn't giving you a lot of setup, that's why in a 2-skill format, we are actually running this skill, Viral Infection. With this, I can discard any number of cards from my hand once per turn, and then force the opponent to send the same number of cards I discarded, but if of a specific card type, either monster, spell, or trap, from their deck to the graveyard there. So often this can be used to force monsters into their grave, or against certain decks, I can actually maybe try to force spells and traps into the grave there, so I don't have to deal with them in problematic matchups. Moving on to our main deck here. We're running 3 copies of Delta the Magnet Warrior here. This is primarily used as one of our graveyard setup tools here, as when it's normal summoned, you can send any level 4 or lower Magnet Warrior to the graveyard, so you can send a Delta, for instance. Next up, we're running some of the fossil supports here with Weathering Soldier, a nice 2k attacker, at least for one turn there, but also having the ability that when it's destroyed or sent to the grave by card effect, can add any card that mentions Fossil Fusion except for itself. So that can be used to add one of our other support monsters, which would be Shell Knight, or one of our other support cards here. So with Shell Knight there, provides a good defensive wall of 2,000 on its normal summon there, and it can also burn the opponent for 500. In a 4,000 life point format, that's actually a bit more useful than you would think. And also, too, if it's sent to the grave, either by battle or card effect, we can add a level 8 rock monster, which we have a very useful one running in the deck here. For other good rock support here, we're running Legendary Jujitsu Master. A good defensive wall there, where if the opponent attacks into it with whatever monster, it's going to be bounced back into the deck. Or bounced to the top of the deck, at least. Very useful for sure with any problematic pieces. In a similar vein, we are also running Neospatian Grand Mole as one of our limit 3s. Obviously, very useful if you attack into the opponent's monster or kind of leave it as a defense kind of piece. It can be used to bounce anything back to the hands there, and it kind of recurs upon itself. So very useful on that. And our level 8 that we're running for Shell Knight's Search is 1 Gaia Plate the Earth Giant. Not only having a strong monster on board, it's the level 8 with the 2 tributes. In this format, you can often run into cards like Quaking Mirror Force, so having a good tribute over that. Or if you just need a really good attacker, that's a really good one there. Its effect, being able to have the attack and defense of whatever it battles, obviously very useful for getting over strong pieces. And then also too, at least for our rock support, this ends off here with our Time Stream. We are running a fossil deck there, and this is our guaranteed limit 2 on this. So with this, being able to tribute a Fossil Fusion monster to get another Fossil Fusion 2 levels higher, being able to level climb through our extra deck, very useful on this. Also too, if you have a graveyard setup, it also does provide a revival effect for Fossil Fusions. Very useful in a lot of cases, considering that's one of our just one of our only real methods of revival in this deck. That concludes at least the rocks of this. We are running some other generic support and earth support here, including Cataclysmic Crusted Calcifida. Useful for special summoning a big body whenever a face-up Earth monster is destroyed by battle or card effect, which we're running an Earth deck, so makes sense. And also being able to send a monster from deck to grave by its card effects there, which can then also trigger stuff like Shell Knight and Weathering Soldier. Running 3 copies of Sphere Karibo for some protection, and against special summon heavy decks, we are running 2 copies of Max C. In addition, so then we have our spell cards here, which for our limit 3s, we're rounding out 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. Sometimes a lot of back row can be problems for this deck here, so having problems to take care of that. In addition, we also have 1 copy of Night Beam here. In the case that we do have a lot of rocks and other things in the grave there, we also have backup here with the support of Dark Calling, being able to summon 1 very specific fusion monster, an evil hero, in our extra deck there that we have as backup. Which, speaking of, this is a fusion deck, so let's get to that here. We're running it for our fossil package, 2 copies of Fossil Warrior Skull Bone. This is our most basic starting point here. 2,000 attack and attack 2 monsters, and also can be banished from grave to add a time stream to hand. Very useful for our climbing there. Which then goes into our limit 1 Fossil Warrior Skull Knight. Is a little hurt by this being a limit 1, but having a 24k piercer with the ability to possibly do 2 attacks, and also being able to banish from grave in order to destroy a monster, very useful in a lot of game states there. But that goes then to one of my favorite boss monsters, Fossil Dragon Skull Gios. This thing in this format, a little nutty there, considering, I mean, yeah, it's a big attacker, but also can choose which stat it wants to battle there. It does piercing, and if it is properly fusion summoned and battles an opponent's monster, it does double damage, which in a format with 4,000 life points can very quickly become an OTK. But then for our Evil Hero support, we are also running just 1 copy of Evil Hero Dark Gaia. I haven't really used as much of this here, but we have a nice kind of big cap for the attack points on this one here, considering if we're running something like banish off of Gaia plate and a Sphere Karibo being our fiend for this one here, or even going to like banish a Fossil Dragon Skull Gios there if it's not being used at the moment there. Like, hey, 3,800 attack for a cap ain't nothing to sneeze at there. Plus also being able to get past flip effects there with its attack stat, or the effects. Yes. Being able to get flip any defense position monster to attack position without affecting flip effects there. Very useful, actually, in this current meta that we have going on at the moment. So that's our extra deck here. As a quick side deck here, we are running 1 copy of Dogoran, the Mad Flame Kaiju, for a Towers Buster there. We're running 1 copy of Mudora, the Sword Oracle. We have a player that really likes to run a flip deck here, or like flipping the deck in the graveyard with the Exchange of the Spirit. So very useful to have in case, just so we're not immediately out of the game. After that, we're running 2 copies of Galaxy Cyclone and 2 copies of Quaking Mirror Force. Just some good staples that we aren't normally running in the main deck here, just to have on backup. And that is my current fossil build. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Noah.
Mm-hmm.